Welcome back. We've now got a completed solution here, and you'll see it says solver is finished. You'll also notice that if I go back to these different plots, that's the finished plots. You'll see I've got pretty laminar flow like we'd expect at 10 degrees AOA. You'll also see that some of these contour lines start to depart at the back. So let me go ahead and close my solver window. And you go, well, I don't see any display. So what I do is come down here and click on results. I need to tell it what to display. So let's put some cut plots in. Now cut plots just mean I'm going to cut through my wing, kind of like a sectional cut, and I'm going to display what it looks like. So let's put a cut plot in here, and I right click and choose insert. I can put a cut plot in using the front plane, and I'm going to put contours first. And you know what? Let's take a look at our pressure. So here's a contour in my front plane. In my options down here, in crop region, I can adjust this and crop it up and down. But now I'm going to go ahead and click on my, sorry, I didn't actually select anything. So I got to go contours. And now I'm going to select pressure. Don't worry so much about the options, but if I wanted to crop it down and zoom in a little more, I could. Just take the default. So we're going to look at the pressure on it, and we're going to say, hey, does this thing look kind of like what we expect? And you go, well, look at that, it does. And for those of you who flew your wing, you're going to see in the wind test, or in the test tunnel, the wind tunnel, you'll see that lower pressure developing on the top of the wing, and that's that lift effect, a higher pressure on the bottom of the wing down beneath here. So you'll see that that cuts it and just gives you a plot right at that, the plane that we use, the front plane. So I can name these similarly. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this and give it a name and call it pressure. Let's do one more cut plot. Let's look at the velocity. So I'm going to go ahead and insert. And this time what I'm going to do is my contour lines are going to be, instead of pressure, I'm going to go velocity. And I'm going to tell it to go ahead and put in some vectors on it, just so we can take a look at it. And here are my vectors and contours for velocity. Now when I turn this on, it's a little confusing because what I've actually got showing here are two different plot lines. So I'm going to rename this one velocity. And then if I right click them, I can hide it and turn it off. So here's my velocity lines of my wind. Now you see how I added those vectors, and they don't always show up really well. Kind of got to turn to the side, and that's kind of my graphics card. Yours may be better. But you can see where the wind's flowing across here. You can also see that the wind speeds up across the top of the wing as we would suspect, and it slows down a little bit off the bottom. With my ambient condition, this yellow out here of 22.5 meters per second. So see the wind flowing across, but also notice this. In the back, I still get a little bit of turbulence back here. You can kind of see that, can't you? Where the wind is slowing way down off that trailing edge, and that's that effect, just like we talked about when you're tailgating behind a truck, though you shouldn't. You'll feel that vacuum. Well, that's that vacuum starting to form there, that lack of a wind. And I can see that also in my pressure plot if I turn that on. So I'm going to go show, and I'm going to hide this. Now you can put a lot of different plots in here. A lot of different plots. We're only going to do those two, but also let's look at a particular surface plot. So I'm going to hide both of my cut plots, and I'm going to choose a surface plot. So again, right click, insert. And this one asks me what surface. Well, let's use the wing surface. And let's go ahead and look at pressure across the top of that. That's all I'm going to do. Contours and pressure. Well, we'll do a vector just for grins too, a velocity across the top. And there it just created exactly what we thought would happen. Is the wind is pretty much flowing across. Notice this trailing edge, you start to see that these velocity vectors lift up and it's spilling off the edge. Kind of interesting. But you'll see that our velocity vectors pick up and our pressure picks up at the leading edge, and then the pressure falls up here where we're generating lift. If we look on the bottom, you'll see that my pressure increases on the bottom, that overall net pressure on it. So the display here will be the quality of your graphics card determined. So that's pretty neat. I've done both of those. You'll also see that if I come in here and I start to probe it, I can basically choose a point parameter and I can probe it, and we won't get too far into that today. So I've got a project here, and I just did the 10 degrees AOA, and you're like, I could go back and repeat all of that for 20 degrees AOA, but I don't want to. So let's create a second flow study here, and all I'm going to do is right click on it and click clone. It takes everything I put in there, except this time I'm going to call it 25 AOA. And I'm going to copy the results. Now notice what I have down here. I've got two different studies now, and it copied my computational domain, it copied my goals, it copied everything, even the results. But notice it is not loaded because I haven't run it yet. So let's run this, but first let's change our initial conditions. So because we've got this highlighted right here, I'm going to go ahead and come up here to my general settings and change my initial conditions. And I'm going to change nothing more. My velocity is the same, but I'm going to select my different coordinate system. So again, I click on coordinate system. I have to go back to my feature manager design tree, or what I call my tree, and I have to click on my 25 AOA. And just click apply and OK. So now you'll see that I've got a little bit of a different initial condition selected. Go back to my flow study, and let me double check that real quick here. Okay, my coordinate system is good. Okay, awesome. Same thing, let's go back and hit run. And I'm going to do a new calculation. And we'll run it again. Again, my window will pop up. And look at my info on it. And it's meshing computing. Tells me how much time it will take. So it says a couple of minutes. It's going to go up to 3 or 4. I'll pause the video. We'll come back and look at that one.